In terms of technique, the artists, they spend a lot of time really refining the procedures and processes that they've been used to doing in our game. A lot of times when they work on games, you're kind of working to get the job done. You don't have a lot of time to stop and think about things or think about how to do things different ways, or to improve even your team and their efficiency and how they work. So at the beginning of the project, when we set aside this time, we dedicated this team to focusing on improving the graphical quality of the game. They really dug into the process and the pipelines that their team goes through, and they learned how to use the tools to maximize their own capabilities, because artists, at the end of the day, they just want to create beautiful work. And sometimes the tools will even get in their way and prevent them from doing that. So this time really afforded them the ability to dig into the tools, learn how to use them the most efficient way possible, to train the team up, to educate them to actually be the best that they could possibly be, so that they could realize their full potential as artists. And I think you really see that shine through when you look at some of the levels that have been produced up to this point. As an example of one of the new technology improvements we've brought, we have a thing called reveal mapping, which is basically it takes two texture images of dissimilar qualities, and it does tonal mapping on the textures, so that, for example, if you have a sand texture laying on top of a rock texture, the sand will look like it's actually resting and falling into the crevices and the cracks of the rocks in a very natural way. And we call this reveal because it's a way of blending textures together in a way that we've never had before. When you multiply that across the entire environment in the game, then the result is a much more photorealistic and believable setting. So regarding lighting, one of the areas that we focused on was HDR, high dynamic range, which really involves how lighting bounces off the surfaces in the world to create a really believable and realistic scene. For example, when a light comes into a window or a door, you're going to see that light filtering into the room. It's going to bounce off of the walls, it's going to bounce off the table, it's going to bounce off of all the objects in a room, and it's going to feel like you're going to get this intensity of shadows, where you might get some darkness in the corners, which a lot of times we refer to as ambient occlusion. You get darkness in the corners, but you'll also get light bouncing off of surfaces to where you have this very intense gradation of dark to light. And that's an area that we really focus on, because that's what really conveys to a player a believable scene. That's what immerses them in that environment. In Black Ops 2, you're really going all over the world. Traditionally, we pick a series of 3 to 5 kind of key locales, and you focus your entire art effort on that. But with this game, we challenged ourselves in new ways, and we're really pushing the limits, because you are going to literally be traveling all over the world. You're going to be going to places that are diverse. You're going to be going to different times that are diverse from one another, and all of this you can only sell with the artistic vision of the game. And the new technology and the technique that the artists have learned and perfected, they afford us the ability to really make these places feel distinct and allow us to do things with the fiction to make believable weather effects, for example, that is something that we've never seen before in terms of diversity. Lighting it's not just about the light, it's about the dark as well. And in order for us to get that really contrasty kind of scene where you feel like you're going from real deep dark shadows into extremely bright and hot white lights, we also have to focus on the shadow technology. And for the first time ever, we've actually been able to do shadows within shadows, which if you look at a realistic scene, you look in the environment, you're going to see shadows on shadows, because there are gradations of light and there's light that bounces off of surfaces that has an impact on that. So that's something that, even though it seems kind of on the surface as a small thing, as a small change, it's actually a massive improvement. When you take the entire scene in, you see the shadows within the shadows, you see the gradations of the dark, you see the gradations of the light, and it makes the scene really feel alive.